Welcome. Good morning. Good afternoon. Good evening. How are we? How are you? How's life? How's it going? Welcome back. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica. I'm Jessica, and we are on day 5, the second half of day 5 of the Chandler. It's Chandler Halderson. I'm not gonna say. I just don't know why that's so hard for me to say. I don't understand. I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, Chandler Halderson Trial, day 5, second half, day 5. Um, I don't really know what we've gotten into. We're going through some evidence of the house. Um, the what they investigated as far as what they found at the crime scene, things like that. All of the crime scenes. Oh, Jesus. Um, so, I mean, they're doing all of those things, and they're just going through all of the evidentiary things. They're putting it all in and going through it, which is fine. It's fine. It's all good. Anywho, so we're just gonna jump right back in. Just a quick recap. Hopefully, you've watched the previous ones. Um, since this is day 5, um, Chandler is on trial for the murder of his mom and dad and the dismemberment of their bodies. They found mom in a wooded area. Well, they found parts of her in a wooded area by a river, lake, something. They found dad on a farm that Chandler's girlfriend's mom's fiance owns. Chandler has been placed at both places in the days prior to the bodies being found. So there's that. Chandler was the last one to see both parents. Chandler was it's really all just kind of pointing to Chandler. So, and defense hasn't put up any argument to say otherwise. It's not their turn yet, but they're also they're not really questioning anybody. They're not really talking back. They're not really putting up any type of fight to say anything. So it's just kind of the state going about their business, doing their thing. Yeah. So there's that. Oh, and the gun that was used to shoot, or they haven't said that yet, but um, there was a gun found in the shed of the mom's fiance on her farm. There was a gun found there that belonged to Chandler, and some saws and other things were found there when they searched the farm. So, again, not looking real good. So, um, Jesus. Uh, so, yeah. So, we're going to get right into it. Um, Again, I am not a specialized or a specialist in any of this. I do not have a law degree or any type of specialized degree in any of this. I am just me, and I talk to me, and now you, and just kind of entertain myself as I go. Hopefully, it entertains you as well. And this is it. This is us rushing to judgment and rushing and judging and criticizing and critiquing and doing all those things. So let's get into it because let's do that. Oh, and BTW, it's snowing. It's snowing, and I'm afraid my children will be out of school tomorrow. So there's that. But they will be so excited. Well, a teenager will be. Anyway. Okay. Let's give it a go, yo. Oh, let's do that. Make sure that's on. Playback speed. Started out slower. I don't know how fast.
Was there anyone over the break who was exposed to any information about the case, sought information, had
or exposed to COVID,
or involuntarily overheard discussion?
Anybody?
No hands. Thank you. Very good. We'll resume with the testimony from Deputy Leatherberry. I'll remind you, you're still under the oath that you swore this morning. If you would proceed, Attorney Ray.
Leatherberry. We're going to speed it back up.
205 is?
Exhibit 205 is a photograph taken from the east side of the office level, if you will, facing towards the west. It is the doorway that leads out into the garage area.
And what is Exhibit 25?
This is a photograph of the interior of the garage.
Oh, and on the last video, I took a tour of the Halderson house. The Halderson house that has been, since this has been sold and was remodeled, and took a tour of it on realtor.com, and it's been remodeled and redone, and it's really pretty. And if you wanted to go back and look at it and see what the floor plan really is, the only place it didn't go was into the garage and then into the basement. So, but it gave a good, I know the video did when they went through for all of that, gave a good idea, but this one gives a better idea of what it looks like, not in shambles and during renovations. So there's that. Just if you wanted to.
The door that was in the previous photograph would be adjacent to the two refuse containers that are in the left portion of that image.
And are the vehicles that are in the garage, the Volvo belonging to Krista Halderson and the Subaru belonging to Bart Halderson?
That is correct, yes.
What is Exhibit 207 a picture of?
Exhibit 207 is a photograph that's depicting the Rubbermaid wheeled refuse container.
Trash can.
And is that container consistent with the container found in the woods at the Irwin Drive property?
This is the container that I referred to earlier in my testimony when we were speaking to the lid that was in the bathroom on the bedroom level that was under construction. This is the lid with the refuse container, and it's consistent with the same type of refuse container that was found in the woods out on Irwin property.
And I'm sorry, part of your testimony might be a little confusing. Is this the same lid that was upstairs in the bathroom?
No, it is not the same lid. This is the lid that goes with this container. There are two lids. Apparently, there would be two lids within that side of the house.
Exhibit 208, what is that a picture of?
This is a photograph depicting the two refuse containers
Picture.
that are provided by a municipality for picking up of waste. One is a recycle bin with the blue lid, and the other one is the trash container.
And did you perform any evidentiary test on any of these garbage cans?
I did. On the handle of the garbage can, there was reddish brown stain. There's also reddish brown stains on the inside of the container. The stain that was on the handle was tested with phenolphthalein, which was presumptive positive, and then followed up with the hexagon OBTI test, which was also positive for human blood.
Could you describe Exhibit 209 for the jury?
This is a photograph of the interior side of the west wall of the garage. This would be in the southwest corner. In this image, there is a placard with the number 7 that is indicating that the metal frame gray basket that is hanging and the items that are inside of that basket.
And the 7 was put there by police.
Yes, I put that there.
Okay. And Exhibit 210, what does 210 show?
Exhibit 210 shows another photograph of the same bin. However, the first container that was on top of it has been removed to expose a couple lengths of rope. You see a length of rope that is black in color, and there's also a length of rope that is orange in color.
And why did you milk the rope?
The black rope is consistent in appearance with a rope that was around the torso of the deceased that was located on the Erlin Road property.
Oh no.
211, again, just a close-up of that rope.
It's showing the cut end of
Where it was
that rope.
cut. Why was it around the torso?
And if you want to glove up. Deputy, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 279. Exhibit 279, does it have a sticker from your department with a label?
Yes, it does. It is a evidence ID number 41887, and it's the black rope from the garage basket.
I ask that you open up the bag. State will move Exhibit 279 into evidence.
Any objection? You did proceed. You may be shown.
And if you just want to hold that up, maybe stand up and hold it up for the jury. Exhibit 279.
It's rope.
Was what appears like tape, was that present when you collected it?
No, it was not.
Is that something done by the crime lab?
That was done by myself.
Okay, why?
It was done by myself in preparation for submitting the cut end to the state crime laboratory for comparison.
And specifically, what is Exhibit 280?
Exhibit 280 is a cut section from 41887, the evidence ID number.
And that is the portion of the rope that you cut and submitted, and it was submitted to the state crime lab?
That is correct.
At this point, I would move Exhibit 280 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
Actually, I don't think it's a cutting from the previous rope that was seen. And then just to move in for the record, Exhibit 281, how would you describe Exhibit 281?
Exhibit 281 is an evidence bag sealed with evidence tape with evidence ID number 41993, which is the cut rope, from evidence ID number 41692, which is the rope portion that was around the torso.
And I would move Exhibit 281 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
Yeesh. Why was it wrapped up? Why did it have rope around it? I don't get that.
Okay, Deputy, could you describe Exhibit 222 to the jury, please?
This is a photograph, again, of the interior side of the west wall of the garage. The previous photograph would have been to the left of this on that same wall. In this photograph, we can see the window, and below the window, there are some green stakes that are leaning up against the lower left corner of that window.
223. Can you describe Exhibit 223?
In Exhibit 223, we can see those same green stakes as a reference from the previous photograph. And we can see a golf club that is against the wall. And just to the left of the black head of the golf club, there's a number indicator for an item evidence that was collected.
What? 212. What does Exhibit 212 display?
212 is a better photograph depicting the evidence marker number 8. Number 8 is for the wooden handle that is attached to the axe head that is on the floor of the garage.
Please describe 213.
Oh, God.
213 is a photograph of the axe that I collected from the garage.
And just to
What was that
back
for?
up, this axe was kind of hidden behind some boards.
It was something that you had to look to see. I wouldn't say it was hidden. It was concealed by its placement. But if you had the right angle, you could see it was there.
All right. So Exhibit 214. Can you please describe it?
Exhibit 214 is a photograph showing staining that is on the area of where the axe head and the handle of the axe come together. This red staining is consistent in appearance with that of blood. There's also some dark staining on the metal portion of the axe head itself.
Did you test it?
Exhibit 215.
It is yet another photograph of the axe with the axe head. And again, we can see staining in the area where the axe head and handle intersect.
Jesus Christ.
Exhibit 216.
It is a same photograph of, it is a photograph of the same axe. However, is the opposite side of the axe head. Again, we can see that there's
Is it rust or
some
blood?
dark
Did you test it?
discoloration
Was it blood?
in the area where the sharp end of the axe would be. And there is not the same discoloration.
So talking
in the
about
area
it, just
of
tell me,
the
is it
side of
blood?
The axe head.
217.
217 is
Got
a
blood on
photograph
the
of the
handle?
same axe. And here we're referencing the handle area. And we can see on the handle that there is dark red, reddish brown staining.
And
Are you
218.
kidding me?
218 is another photograph of that same handle. It's just a more of an overview of the handle.
And if you want to glove up, detective.
He hasn't had his mask on this whole time.
And should
Why is it
what
on?
has been marked as Exhibit 219. What is Exhibit 219?
Exhibit 219. Exhibit 219 is the axe that I had collected from the garage.
And there's various stickers. One of these stickers says biohazard. Why is that on there?
There's a biohazard sticker on there, again, because of the reddish brown staining. The reddish brown staining that is on the axe is human blood. I tested it with the phenolphthalein test, the presumptive positive. I then followed with the hexagon OBTI test to determine if it's human
My
blood or
God.
not. And the test came back positive for human blood.
Deputy, would you please open up Exhibit 219?
Oh my God.
And before you take it out, does Exhibit 219 appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you collected it?
It is, however, there's purple ice cream that is on there.
Sure, from fingerprint testing.
That would be consistent with this.
At this point, and it was sent to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab for a plethora of tests.
Yes, it was.
I would move Exhibit 219 into evidence at this time. No objection.
It is received.
Deputy, could you please pick up Exhibit 219 and maybe walk back and forth besides the jury and show them Exhibit 219?
Like you chose to come to
Just put
court
219 back into the box.
and put all this out here. Like, why would you do that? For the love of God. Why? And y'all are just sitting there on your computers.
Thank you, sir.
Like, la-di-dee, la-di-da. That don't mean shit. Y'all don't have no defense.
Exhibit 223.
I guarantee
Describe
you.
Exhibit 223.
Exhibit 223 is, again, a photograph in that same area where the axe was. It's depicting the
What
boards that are all standing
Do you
on edge and
possibly
leaning up
have to
against
say?
the interior side of the west
Nothing.
wall of the garage.
How would you describe Exhibit
What's
224?
that?
Exhibit 224 is a referred to as a bow saw, or handle for a bow saw that is behind the boards. This would have been just to the south of where the axe was, or to the left in the previous photograph.
And it's kind of behind some boards.
Yes, it is.
How would you describe Exhibit 225?
Exhibit 225 is the one end of the bow saw. When I say it's a bow saw, it would normally have a saw blade attached. However, the saw blade on this particular bow saw is absent. However, there is a small fragment or a piece of a broken saw that is attached to the end of the bow saw, and that would be in the area where that silver round button-looking area is.
If you want to put on some gloves. Good one.
I mean, I think we get the idea, but good gravy gracious.
Deputy, I'm showing you what is the number 220. From this, can you describe what 226 is?
226 is the broken blade section of the bow saw under evidence item number 42202.
Could you please open and visually examine 226, please?
What are you doing? Playing games? Excuse me. She's playing solitaire.
And does 226 appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition as when you or a member of your team collected it? Is it in a separate container? Okay. And again, that was set for fraction that at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. This time I would move Exhibit 226 into evidence.
Please proceed.
And Deputy, if you could display at least the major part of that saw to the jury, or both parts, yeah, to the jury. Deputy, as you return Exhibit 226, do you see a brand name on it?
Craftsman.
What is the brand name?
Craftsman.
Does it have any other markings or brand?
It has the number, and then it has the number 21 IM bow saw.
And is there any marking or brand name on the blade part? Okay.
Judge, can we approach just briefly? Sure.
Like, what is he thinking? Like, what? Could you imagine, like, what you're sitting there, like, what are you thinking?
Just want to repackage 226. I'll leave this for further question later. Thank you, Deputy. I'll put it on the table in a minute. Exhibit 220. How would you describe Exhibit 220?
Exhibit 220 is a photograph of a Craftsman rolling tool chest that is against the north wall of the garage on the interior side, nearest to the northwest corner.
How would you describe Exhibit 221?
This is a drawer that is in the lower section of the rolling toolbox that I had opened and photographed.
And exhibit, well, it's the same exhibit number, it just has the added circle, so 221, it appears to be zoomed in. What would you describe there?
This is a handle for a all-way handsaw with two saw blades that are linked together with a metal wire of some sort.
And in that
And
circle,
you
there, you
use
can read
that
a brand
big
name
saw.
for that blade.
I can see the all-way saw, but I cannot see the brand on the blade itself.
I'm sorry, I meant the saw. The Allway was the brand name.
That's what I see. Yes.
I'm going to show you, Deputy, what's already been marked and received as Exhibit 140. This was a tool found at the Irwin Road property. Could you please open up 140? And can you look at that saw and tell me what brand that tool is?
This is a all-way manufacturing company.
So same brand at the farm, this tool, as the one in the Craftsman toolbox at the 4595
Oh, snap.
Springs address. Okay. Do you want to put 140 back?
What are the odds?
Thank you.
There's a lot of saws in there. Like, why would he pick the little saws?
Exhibit 13, moving on from the garage. What room is this?
This is the family room that is on the lower level. This is the same level that the office is on, and the stairs that are depicted in the right side of the image ascend up to the main level or to the kitchen.
Could you please describe Exhibit 14?
Exhibit 14 is a overview of the family room. There's the
Burnt up
table
fireplace.
with the chairs. There's a fan on the table. There's a lamp on the table. There's a neck brace on the table. And in the background, you can see the stone fireplace.
Exhibit 240.
Exhibit,
Let me just ask you a question about those items on the table. Were they there when you first entered the home, or were those items that the police placed there?
this is a photograph of how we found the table at the residence prior to any work being done.
So the fan was there next to the fireplace?
On the table, correct.
Please explain Exhibit 228.
Exhibit 228 is a photograph. It's an overall photograph of the stone fireplace. We can see the fireplace insert, if you will, that is in the middle. That's the black rectangular framing that has double bifold glass doors on it. To the left, there's a storage area for kindling type wood with a bin.
Exhibit
And that's
229.
all
What is
still
Exhibit
there.
229?
Exhibit 229
In the
is
remodel.
a pair of work
But it's prettier.
gloves.
And again,
It
those
like
were there when you
redid the
arrived on scene.
stones.
Correct.
Like,
This is a photograph of how we
painted
found it.
them and stuff.
How would you describe Exhibit 230?
Exhibit 230 is a photograph of the fireplace enclosure. Now, this fireplace is not a gas fireplace. This is a wood-burning fireplace. There are bifold
Oh,
doors
Jesus.
on the front. We can see that there are 3 of the 4 panes of glass that are in place. The 4th pane of glass is absent. If we look at the lower edge of the frame on the left side, we can see a portion of the glass that would normally be in that position.
Please explain Exhibit 231.
Exhibit 231 is a photograph of the same fireplace. And we can see again in the area where the glass should be, there are portions of glass still remaining. We can see that above that on the trim that for the glass enclosure, that there's a silver bare metal essentially where the paint has bubbled up and there is a disruption on that surface.
I actually am going to go back a couple of slides. In Exhibit 240 of the items on the table, is there also a measuring tape on that table?
There is a measuring tape.
Also appears to be some hand sanitizer.
There's a hand sanitizer, and I believe there is a Target bag on the far right side.
Maybe a bottle of Advil and some sort of Star Wars memorabilia.
That is correct, yes.
There's Legos.
232. Could you please
It's a
describe exhibit
Lego
232?
set.
Exhibit 232 is a photograph of
In
the
his
far
spare
right
time,
side
he
or
was
the
going to
south
put the Lego set
side
together.
of the glass enclosure. This is on the family room side or the non-fire side. It's showing the glass and streaks that are on the glass.
Do you have any thoughts as to what caused those streaks?
Objection, speculation.
I think you said foundation. Sustained, you can lay foundation if you wish.
Detective Leatherberry, have you been taught through your
Stupid.
various trainings as a crime scene unit investigator? Have you had some trainings pertaining to fire or arson?
Yes, I have. I've attended the Dane County Arson Response Initiative training and received training in fire investigations.
Additionally, have you had any training on crime scene cleanup or how to process potential cleanup scenarios as you process a scene that a suspect may have left behind?
Yes, I have.
Based on those training and your experience, do you have any ideas as to what caused the streaking?
It appears that an object was dragged across that surface in an attempt to clean that surface.
There appears to be a residue. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, this appears to be a smear is actually what it appears to be.
Could you describe it all with that residue? Was it dry, oily, something else?
I really can't get into that because I did not do any further examinations of that.
Okay, fair enough. Exhibit 236. Could you please describe Exhibit 236?
Exhibit 236 is the middle portion of the glass that remains intact. That would be in the middle of the photograph. And we can see that there is a cloudy substance or smearing on the glass surface itself. And in the background, we can see the metal grate that is on the base of the fireplace.
Exhibit 233. What are we seeing here?
This is a photograph, a close-up photograph of the lower left portion or the north side of the fireplace enclosure. What we see here is portions of the tempered glass that still remain within the door.
And Deputy, as you examined this fireplace, both around it and inside of it, did you find glass either on the outside of it or inside of it?
There were some small pieces of glass on the interior side of the fireplace itself.
And Exhibit 234, what is the jury seeing there?
This is a photograph of the bifolding door on the north end of the fireplace enclosure. What we can see here is that the frame is still intact. There's the absence of the one piece of glass that has been broken out, and the one pane of glass is present.
And this might just be the angle of the photo, but could the door still close? It almost looks like it's off track.
Yes, the door still closed.
241, what is the jury seeing in 241?
In 241, we are seeing the area above the glass doors that is part of the enclosure. And what we're seeing here is the paint. There's a discoloration to the paint, and there's actually bubbling that has occurred.
Any educated guesses as to what caused the bubbling?
Yes, high temperature causes the bubbling of the coating that is on that material.
Could you please describe Exhibit 242?
Exhibit 242 is a photograph of the same enclosure. Again, this is the far left side if you're looking at it, or the north end. This is above the area where the glass was broken out. What we see here is the different layers. We have the layer of coating in the area of evidence marker letter L, and then we can see some bubbling to the paint as we move further to the right in this image. And as we continue, we can see that it is actually burned away from the metal material itself and has exposed the raw metal.
And that's what you see all the way on the right side?
That is correct.
If you use oven cleaner on stuff like that too,
Exhibit 235,
it does that.
what is the jury seeing?
Exhibit 235 photograph, the door is open, allowing us to see into the firebox. We can see that there is a metal grate. There are two logs situated from left to right or north and south. There is some unburnt newsprint paper material. There is a chain and a cable on the right side of the image that is for the damper. And below the fireplace grate is a ash cleanout door.
And what is an ash cleanout door?
It's an area where the ash can be deposited and swept into when cleaning the fireplace out.
Exhibit 237?
Exhibit 237 is a photograph. It's a close-up photograph of the previous image that was depicted. What we can see in this image, and drew my attention, was the different discolorations on the grate itself. When we look at the grate, we can see that there are areas that are more gray or light in color, and then we see areas that are more dark or they have a wet appearance to them. When I had seen this, I knew that there was something more burnt in this fireplace other than just wood burning materials and newsprint. And I elicited the help of the ATF and the Wisconsin Department of Criminal Investigations Arson Response Unit to assist.
And did they in fact come to assist?
Yes, they came out on 2 occasions. They came out to do an evaluation to determine if this is something that they would be able to assist with. Special Agent Boswell from the DCI is a certified fire investigator with the State Fire Marshal's Office, which is a division of the Criminal Investigations Unit, as is William Fulton. He's with the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. He is also a certified fire investigator. I am not a certified fire investigator, but I knew enough that I needed to call for some help and get some assistance from the subject matter experts.
Exhibit 238, what are we seeing on Exhibit 238?
Again, this is the same fireplace grate. As we look to the far right, we can see the end of the chain hanging down. That's the damper that controls the flue, if you will. We can see the fireplace grate, the dark staining, and the wood log that's in there, the brown and white wood log that is situated in the fireplace grate.
Exhibit 239, what is the jury seeing?
Exhibit 239 is a photograph. It's a close-up photograph of the 2 logs that are situated in the grate. We also can see the unburnt newsprint. If we look in the center of the image, we see a dark colored object. That is burnt wood that has been placed on top of the unburnt newsprint. And if we look closer to the black burnt charred wood, there's a white object on that piece of wood. That white object is later determined to be human bone.
Oh, Jesus.
And that determination was made by the forensic anthropologist?
Yes, Dr. Christina Figueroa Soto.
Looking at the wood, the newspaper, the bone, did you guys look at the date at all on that newspaper?
We did, and we photographed the dates of all of those. I cannot recall what those dates are.
All right. Stay tuned. All right. Exhibit 3.
She said stay
What is the
tuned.
jury seeing here?
Exhibit 310 is showing a photograph of the same fireplace. However, this was done, taken after additional chemical processing had been done within the house, as we can depict the 2 evidence markers on the fireplace hearth, letter O and letter B is what I believe.
No, there's pretty bad glare.
Now,
Can't
Exhibit
see it.
243, this starts to have placards in it.
Yes, it does.
And obviously, your department placed them there.
I placed them there.
Okay. Tell us about Exhibit 243.
Exhibit 243 is a photograph depicting evidence markers with alpha markers next to them. These are depicting individual stains of blood that I located on the dark tar-like floor. You can also see that there is a marker on the hearth, letter B, that is also from a reddish-brown stain that tested positive for blood.
Exhibit 244, please
Rich
describe.
Mars.
Again, this is evidence marker letter B. This is on the fireplace hearth. It is on the grout. It's within the grout that is between the 2 large hearth stones,
Hearth.
and it's indicating a reddish-brown stain.
That's what that's called. Interesting.
Exhibit 312.
Exhibit 312 is a photograph of the same hearth. Letter B is referenced in the previous image. If we look in this image, we see that the letter N, which is on the floor, and the letter O is placed on the hearth. Those are markers were placed there after chemical testing was done.
Like,
Exhibit 311.
Exhibit 311, again, is the same fireplace hearth. We can see the evidence markers FEDCIN on the floor and the letter O and the letter B on the fireplace hearth.
Exhibit 245.
Exhibit 245 is a close-up photograph of the reddish-brown stain next to evidence marker letter B. It is directly below the line in the middle that is the 1 centimeter line.
And I see pointed out on these, on your placards, it also says which room. So this one says family.
That is correct.
I believe we saw one earlier that was B, but it said laundry.
That is correct.
So you use the same letters, but you indicate which room.
We had to because of the number of items of evidence. We would have gotten into double lettering, and for ease of identification, we decided to label them with the numerical marker or the alpha marker for whichever room that we were in.
What does Exhibit 246 show?
Exhibit 246, again, shows the same as the previous. It's a medium shot of the stains that were on the floor.
not going to have you open these, so up to you if you want to glove up or not. Deputy, I'm showing you what has been marked as Exhibit 249. Is your office's identification sticker also on Exhibit 249?
It is.
And what is Exhibit 249?
Exhibit 249 is 7 swabs that I collected from the floor of the family room,
Need to move my
letters
legs.
B through H.
And how did you take these swabs?
The swabs were collected individually. So a swab is basically a cotton Q-tip with an applicator on one end. It has a wooden shaft. They're approximately 6 inches long.
Shaft.
We apply a single drop of sterile water to the tip of the swab, and with the tip of the swab, we place it into whatever material we're attempting to collect onto the tip of that swab. Once we collect that swab, it is then placed into a slide box. Now, a slide box is consistent with that, like a matchbox. It's placed into the slide box, and then it is sealed up.
And does Exhibit 249 also have a sticker from the crime lab?
Yes, it does. It has the M21, which indicates the Madison lab for the year of 2021, and the case number is 1575.
At this time, I would move Exhibit 249 into evidence. No objection.
It is received.
Deputy, I'll have you look at Exhibit 250. Please describe Exhibit 250.
Exhibit 250 are individual swabs of the stains next to evidence marker letter N and evidence marker letter O. These stains were identified when the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory responded with their field response unit to utilize luminol. Now, luminol is a chemical that we utilize to spray, is a liquid form that we spray onto hard surfaces. And what we're looking for is blood stains that are appear to have been cleaned up, or stains that have been cleaned up but are not visible to the naked eye. Just because a blood stain is wiped from a surface, it doesn't mean it's gone. There could be trace amounts still on that surface, and they will be represented as a fluorescent blue-colored glow when you apply the luminol. Luminol is done in the hours of darkness or when we can make the room completely dark, and it will fluoresce when it reacts with the blood. These two stains are stains that reacted with the blood but were not seen by me when I was doing my examination and found all the other stains.
And specifically, was it Nick Stolke from the Wisconsin State Crime Lab who did the luminol?
Yes, Nick Stolke and his team with John Ertl as an assistant and the 2 photographers assisted with the process.
This time I would move Exhibit 250 into evidence. No objection.
It is received.
Of course, there's no objection. I don't care. I have not found one thing that they care about yet, except stupid objections.
Deputy, you're not going to be approached with a blow-up of a photograph. It is Exhibit 556. Could you please identify Exhibit 556?
Again, this is a photograph that I had taken of the fireplace. This shows the fireplace hearth with the alpha number letters, I'm sorry, of O and B on the hearth, and then it shows the additional letters that are on the floor.
Is it appear to be a true and accurate depiction of what you observed?
Yes, it is.
At this time, I would move Exhibit 556 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
It is received. It may be published.
Bill, do you just want to maybe walk it in front of the jury so folks around this side can see? All right, now back to your little screen. Exhibit 251. How would you describe Exhibit 251?
Exhibit 251 is a photograph of an open freezer that was located in the basement. Now, this freezer is against the west wall of the basement, if you will, and it is adjacent to the stairs that descend from the office area.
And this basement, how would you describe the basement in general? Is it one big room, kind of two little rooms, something else?
As you descend down the stairs and you're facing to the east, there's a wall, a cinder block wall that runs down the middle of the basement from east to west. It separates the north side of the basement and the south side of the basement. There's wood framing that extends from the west end of the wall that continues to the west. The cinder block wall at the east end intersects with the foundation of the basement itself.
Exhibit 252.
Exhibit 252 shows
252.
the same freezer, then we can see that it is open. To the left of
Where
the
this is
freezer
supposed to
is a upright freezer. We can see the gray door with the silver handle. Beyond the freezer, there is a rolling baker's rack type shelving that has, for the lack of better terms, the COVID supplies. There's all kinds of supplies on that
COVID supplies.
rack that has been stocked up. And to the right of the image, we can see the cement stairs that ascend up to the
Kitchen.
office level and family room level.
Oh, yeah. You're
Exhibit
right.
253. What
This
is
is the same
here's
freezer I
the-
have.
Exhibit 253, we can see
That's the
inside
only freezer I
of
could
the
find during
freezer itself.
COVID.
We can see that there is nothing inside of the
Tiny little
the freezer.
freezer.
We can see that there's indentations in the base of
Perfect for me.
the freezer. We can see in the lower portion of the freezer that is nearest to the photographer, which was myself, a raised white portion for a drain.
And why did you become, obviously you took several pictures of this freezer. Why did you do that?
Quite frankly,
So
it
it's
was out of
freezing.
place. It's up against the area where the supplies were, so it was in the way. It also was standing open, which I didn't think was normal. When I discovered this, I was not made aware of this. Again, we talked about briefing and talking with detectives, and information that I had received was that detectives and patrol deputies had previously been to the residence for when Chandler reported his parents missing. And during that time, they were in the house. And I couldn't think for a good reason why somebody would forget to tell me about a freezer that was in the basement. So I placed a phone call to Detective Sims and asked about the freezer, of why that freezer was in the basement. And it was not, she told me it was not there when they were there on their walkthrough. So again, that drew more attention. We have a freezer that just is out of place. The lid is open, and it was not in that same location when the detectives and deputies were there when the missing persons report was filed.
Obviously it appears empty in this picture. Was there any food in it that you had to remove?
No, this is the condition that it was in. I also noted that it was very, very clean. I also observed that there was a drain, which we cannot see in this particular image, but looking down inside, it would be the lower left corner of this image. And it appeared to have a liquid-like substance in it.
Exhibit 254. Can you see that drain in Exhibit 254?
Yes, this is a better representation of what I just described. The gray drain for the freezer is located in the lower left portion of this freezer. We can see that there is not a plug in place on the interior side, and neither was there a plug in place on the exterior.
What, if anything, did you do concerning that drain?
I took a swab of the drain and tested it with phenolphthalein, and I received a
There was blood.
presumptive positive with phenolphthalein for the presence of blood. I then followed it with the hexagon OBTI test. The hexagon OBTI test, as I explained earlier, is for the presence of human blood, and it indicated that for the presence of human blood, that there was human blood present.
So for example, just to try to explain it, if you had steak that was bloody and went into that drain, that wouldn't result in a positive with your second test.
It absolutely would not.
Human blood is what tests positive.
Correct.
Deputy, I'm approaching you with Exhibit 374. Can you look at Exhibit 374? How would you
No.
describe it?
This is a swab of the blood from the freezer drain that I had taken, and this also has been submitted to the state crime laboratory for analysis.
Also has the biohazard sticker.
Yes, it does.
I would move Exhibit 374 into evidence at this time. No objection.
It is received.
All right. Exhibit 255. How would you describe Exhibit 255?
Again, Exhibit 255 is again showing that same freezer. Now we have the reference of the stairs to the right side that ascend up to the office/family room level. We can see the freezer, the chest type freezer that is open, as well as the upright freezer and the north cinder block wall of the basement foundation.
One more question about that chest freezer. Was it plugged in?
No, it was not.
How about the upright freezer? Was it plugged in?
Yes, the upright freezer was plugged in, and when I had opened it, the contents inside of that freezer were cold.
And those contents were food?
There were all kinds of food in there, yes.
We didn't want to get rid of his
256. How would you
food.
describe Exhibit 256.
Exhibit 256 is a photograph of one of the shelves that was behind the freezer, which would have been essentially between the freezer and the west wall of the basement on the south half, if you will. In this photograph, we can see that there's a couple bottles of Tide, a couple bottles of Dawn. There's a brown bottle with a white cap, and I noted that the seal was broken on that cap.
So what'd you do?
I picked it up to determine what it was after photographing it, and it is a empty bottle of hydrogen peroxide.
And I am going to
Empty, eh?
Could you please look at the stickers on Exhibit 282 when you have a moment? And what do you believe Exhibit 282 is?
Exhibit 282 is the bottle of hydrogen peroxide that I collected from the basement. It was on the south side. It was on the shelf that was previously in the photograph.
Could you please open and visually inspect Exhibit 282? And is that the bottle of peroxide you collected? At this point, I would move Exhibit 282 into evidence. No objection.
It is received.
Now, why in the world did you collect a bottle of common peroxide?
Because it was unusual.
Well, there's a couple of reasons why I collected a bottle of hydrogen peroxide. Number one is it was out of place. We have a storage shelf that has stored supplies, and they're in great quantities. But there's an empty bottle of hydrogen peroxide that just did not fit. In addition, my experience in working with the Dane County Medical Examiner's Office, I attend autopsies, and one of the products that they utilize to neutralize and clean up blood if they were to get it on some paperwork is hydrogen peroxide.
Does hydrogen peroxide have any smell?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Unlike cleaners such as bleach.
It definitely does not smell like bleach.
Exhibit 257, what do you observe there?
Exhibit 257 is a bottle of hand cleaner, the distilled water, and then there appears to be a void area.
What is Exhibit 258?
This is a photograph of the south wall of the basement on the south side. This is the foundation wall, and there are a series of storage shelves on the north side of that wall. They are the black shelving units, and we can see that they're neatly organized with translucent totes and boxes.
Exhibit 259, what does that display?
Exhibit 259 displays a yellow roll of duct tape that I observed that was on the shelf on top of one of the translucent bins as we see in this photograph.
Exhibit 260.
This is a close-up photograph that I took of the yellow duct tape. We can see here that the cut end of the duct tape is visible.
And again, 261.
It's another photograph of the cut end of the duct tape.
When you're taking all these pictures of the yellow duct tape, were you aware of a garbage bin that was collected for evidence at the Irving Road property?
Yes, I was.
Were you aware of the fact that some yellow duct tape was found in that garbage bin?
I saw the yellow duct tape inside that bin, and this yellow duct tape, again, it jumped out at me because it was consistent in appearance and color, and I definitely knew this was an important piece of evidence that needed to be collected.
So did you collect it?
Yes.
I'm going to show you, Deputy, what has been marked as Exhibit 283. How would you describe Exhibit 283?
Exhibit 283 is the yellow roll of duct tape that was collected by myself. It also has crime laboratory markings for the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, item H and H1. What is different about the tape at this point is that the tag end of the tape has been pulled off of the roll and appears to have been affixed to a clear piece of acetate. Now, this would be consistent with something that we would that would be done at the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory when we ask them to do a fracture match. Again, we submit this to the subject matter experts who are trained in making comparisons, and they can take the unknown sample from the garbage bin, if you will, and attempt to fracture match it back to a known standard, and that being this roll of tape that was at the scene.
To put it crudely, they can tell you whether or not it's like two puzzle pieces, whether they fit together or not.
That is a very good explanation of it, yes.
I would move Exhibit 283 into evidence at this time. No objection.
It is received.
It is received. He says it with such gusto. It is received. Why, thank you, Your Honor.
What does Exhibit 262 display?
Exhibit 262 is a photograph in the basement. This is a photograph, I believe, of the north wall of the basement. What we see in this photograph is a window that is actually, you can see the window, it's covered with the towels that have been hung to prevent light coming into the basement.
And did police hang these up when they luminoled, or were these already there when you arrived?
No, we did not. These were already there when we arrived. This is a photograph of how it was when we initially saw the scene.
And Exhibit 263?
This is again a
No, we
photograph
didn't
of
do
the
this
window
dumb
covering.
shit.
In this photograph, we can see that a blue clamp has been used to cover the window and attach basically the blanket to the floor joist ceiling supports.
264, could you please describe this image?
264, we can see the west wall of the basement. Now, it's hard to see, but at the very left side, you can see a yellow stripe. Just to the left of that, that would be where the stairs are that ascend up to the office or the family room level. What we see here is the cinder block wall. There's a wood bench that is blue in color. There's a butcher block style workbench top that is in the foreground. To the left of that, we can see a floor safe. We can see a gray tote bin on top of that.
Oh my gosh, stop it.
And the floor safe, just to make sure the jury is focused on it is on the lower left-hand corner.
Correct. It's a gray safe, and you can see the evidence marker letter C is on that safe.
Exhibit 268, how would you describe Exhibit 268?
Exhibit 268 is a photograph, medium shot of the left side of the workbench. In the far left, we can see the stairs that ascend up to the basement level.
Why is there so much
There are
blood
evidence placards,
everywhere?
letter A, B,
I was wondering
C,
where all the blood
letter
was,
G, and the letter
y'all.
F.
Exhibit 269, please describe that for the jury.
Exhibit 269 is the
269.
floor safe with
Damn,
the evidence marker
you're
letter
fine.
C on it. We can see above the letter C and to the right that there are round circles. Those round circles are blood stains. They were observed as reddish-brown stains by Deputy Jim Plenty and myself. Deputy Jim Plenty and I determined that we would collect the stains individually. I sampled a portion of the stain that was
Is here
above the letter C
forever.
and tested that with phenolphthalein, and it confirmed that it was present for blood. I again followed with the subsequent test, the hexagon OBTI test. That hexagon OBTI test was positive for the presence of human blood. The remainder of the stains on that were not tested, they were simply collected.
And why is that?
Because they're in the same general area. Again, we talked about the most probative value in submitting items to the state crime laboratory because of the limitations that we have in submitting items. This is a screening process that we utilize so we can submit the evidence with the best value. And knowing that there was blood on that surface, and it was human blood, we did not need to continue testing additional stains. We were confident that additional stains could be sent out and tested by the crime lab.
Do you ever, because of the size of a stain or sample, have to make choices as to which test you do or what you do with the sample?
Absolutely. We can never consume the sample. That means when I do a test with phenolphthalein, I cannot utilize the entire sample because I'm only testing to determine if it's blood. If I utilize that entire sample, there is nothing left to send to the lab. I then have to make that same determination if there's enough sample left to be able to do the hexagon OBTI test. And doing the hexagon OBTI test, it simply tells me if it's human or non-human. It does not tell me whose blood it is. Again, I cannot consume that entire sample. There has to
Don't
be
want to
sample
use
remaining
it
to be
all.
able to be sent to the
If
crime
you
lab.
use it all, then you won't have none
Okay, I'm going to show you what has
left
been marked as Exhibit 373.
to send away.
Can you please review the labels of Exhibit 373 and tell us what
Tell
it
me
is?
whose blood.
These are the 7 swabs that I collected from the face of the safe that was in the photographs previously. It's listed as swabs NS, so meaning north side of the basement, and they're swabs 1 through 7.
And is there also a sticker on that on Exhibit 373 from the Wisconsin State Crime Lab?
Yes, this item was submitted to the Wisconsin State Crime Lab under case number M211575, and the item number or letter designation is Y as in young. There are additional stickers that are applied by the crime lab, and they appear to be Y1 through Y7.
At this time, I would move Exhibit 373 into evidence.
It is received.
Moving on, can you please describe Exhibit 270?
Exhibit 270 is a photograph taken in the basement. Again, we're on the north side of the basement. This would be in the northwest corner of the basement. We can see a refrigerator to the right. There is a bicycle in the background. There are alpha markers, the letter D and the letter E, that are on the floor.
And what are D and E? What are those denoting?
I believe letter E is a bullet fragment.
What?
Showing you Exhibit 272. What does Exhibit 272 show?
Exhibit 272, we can see a gray piece of metal that has staining on it. And when we look at this, we can see that there's no uniformity to it. It is consistent with a projectile.
Oh,
Projectile. Is that a fancy word for bullet?
But that is a portion of the bullet. The bullet is made up of a casing, powder, a primer, and then the projectile itself that is propelled from the firearm. So this is a bullet from a firearm.
Down towards the bottom right,
Part of it.
is there anything?
Yes, it's
additional
on
metal
the edge
fragment?
of the screen. There's an additional small fragment.
So there's 2 metal fragments.
That is correct.
Deputy, I'm now going to show you Exhibits 285 and 286. I'm actually probably going to have you open these up.
Why? Just move on. Tell me whose blood it is and get on with my day.
So just while you're gloving up, what does the label of Exhibit 285 seem to be for your office's label?
The Exhibit 285 is a metal fragment from the basement floor that was next to evidence marker letter E. It is under evidence ID number 41873. This also was submitted to the Wisconsin State Laboratory, Crime Laboratory. It has their case number with the evidence subdesignator that they utilize of L and L2.
All right, and I'll have you, and it also has a biohazard sticker. Okay, ask you to open up Exhibit 285. This time I'd move Exhibit 285 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
Could you walk it slowly in front of the jury, please, so they can observe it? Exhibit 285. Place it back in the box. I'll give you a chance to change your gloves and all.
She is so bossy. It's irritating. Like, why do you have to tell this grown ass man how to do the things?
And what is Exhibit 286?
Stop
according to
it.
The label from your department.
Exhibit 286 is the metal fragment from the basement floor that was found near evidence marker letter E. It is affixed with evidence ID number 41874.
And does it also have Wisconsin State Crime Lab stickers?
Yes, it does. It has the State Crime Lab case number, as well as a sub-designator, letter M as in Mary.
I'd ask that you open it up at this time. And I would move Exhibit 286 into evidence.
No
It's
objection.
at Amazon, Mary.
And it may be published.
And it appears to be in what I would describe as a small test tube. Is that fair, or what would you call it? Okay. Could you please walk that by the jury?
Test tube. Test tube, baby. I'm delirious. I'm tired.
And Deputy, as you package that up, when you discovered 285 and 286, did you know that they were part of a projectile or bullet?
to their subject matter experts for further evaluation.
Exhibit 273, what are we observing?
I'm sorry, you said 273?
Yes, I believe that's the.
Exhibit 273 is a photograph that was taken of the workbench. And in this photograph, we can see on the bottom left portion, a portion of that floor safe and that tote bin that we previously saw in the overall image that when we were looking to the west. We can see a blue bench and on the shelf of the bench, there is a spent fire extinguisher.
Judge, this might be a good time to take a break. The next couple of slides are going to involve a lot of exhibits.
Oh, are they now?
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take 10 minutes at this point in time. Randy.
Fantastic. But we will not. We will move right along.
We installed squeaks during the break.
We'll come right back to it. That was a quick break.
Randy, let me know and I'll talk to make sure it's working. Working okay? Okay, good. Thank you. Then go ahead and continue, Attorney Raymond.
Thank you.
We're fast.
Exhibit 274, preceding in Exhibit 274.
Exhibit 274 is a photograph of a spent cartridge shell that was located on the floor under the blue workbench. It would have been located closest to the west wall of the basement and at the south end of the workbench, which is the end closest to the stairs and that floor safe.
And just for those that are not super familiar with firearms, what is a casing?
A casing is the metal component that is hollow and has gunpowder within it. If we look at the round cylinder end of this particular casing, you can see there's a light colored yellow insert around the green metal portion of the casing. That is the primer end of the casing. The projectile is attached to the opposite end and is usually crimped to create a seal. The primer from the firing pin from the firearm will strike the primer end, and that primer end is that light yellow colored disc within side of the green metal surrounding it. When it strikes the primer, it creates an explosion and ignites the gunpowder within inside of the bullet. The pressure within inside of the capsule, because it's sealed, forces the projectile out of the out of the casing down the barrel of the firearm. And that's essentially how it works.
So thank you.
Essentially.
I'm going to show Exhibit 275. What are we seeing on Exhibit 275?
Again, this is another photograph of the same projectile that was located on the floor in the basement. Again, we can see that inner disc that is a lighter yellow color or gold color, and then there's a darker green casing for the casing itself. This casing was actually located on the basement floor by crime scene investigator Jim Pleppy, who then called to my attention that he had found something, and then I came down and assisted him in the basement with taking these photographs.
Look at these photographs.
I have just had it on there accidentally. I just do it before. Yes. So, Deputy, I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 284. How would you describe Exhibit 284?
Exhibit 284 is the casing that was collected by myself. This is the casing that was in the previous photograph that was on the floor under the workbench. It has a alpha marker letter G. Letter G was one of the placards that we seen in the previous image of the overall images, and it was yellow in color. It is affixed with evidence ID number 41877 that I applied. It's the sheriff's office evidence barcode number.
Going to be doing
It
this
also
this
has the
whole time?
Wisconsin State Crime Lab case number that is the same as previously
no.
mentioned, and they sub-designated this
We
item
get
of
done with
evidence
him.
as letter AH.
And then we go
This
into
time I
the
would move Exhibit
forensic.
284 into evidence.
No objection. It's received.
And Deputy, I'm also going to give you Exhibit 26. This is a bullet given to Mitchell Halderson by the defendant. I'd ask you just to just look at those both, 284 and Exhibit 26.
They're going to object to
And I'd ask if
speculation.
you see any similarities between the items.
They are similar in color. I also know that the head stamp is the same. Now, the head stamp
they didn't
is
even
the
object.
manufacturer's stamping that is on the head or the primer end of the casing. It's not on the
They didn't
primer,
even
it's on the
try.
casing. So it's not on the yellow portion of the disc, it's on the green portion of the metal casing. when I first saw this casing that was in the basement, I'm looking for the name of a manufacturer. A lot of times the manufacturers will put their initials, or they may even put the full name of the company that manufactures them. This particular company did not. This particular company put a logo on there, and knowing
Oh, well,
that
that's
this
convenient.
type of casing is consistent with a cartridge that would be used for a AK-47 or an SKS type rifle. I was wondering if it was maybe some type of imported ammunition from another country, and that's what I was trying to decipher. I later learned that the writing that is on the crown of the head stamp is for a company named Barnaul. I also observed that on the head stamp along the lower arch of that round casing, the number 7.62 by 39, and that is the same head stamp that is on the exhibit number in comparison with the casing.
Jesus. I just went dumb for a moment. I don't know what happened. Everything just like got fucked for a second. Okay. Try this again. Because I think he's about to drop some real shit here.
Casing, the number 7.62 by 39, and that is the same head stamp that is on the exhibit number 26,
Y'all,
Sheriff's Office ID
it's
number
the same one he
417,
gave his
which is,
brother.
ammunition from M. Halderson. This particular piece of evidence, as we look in comparison to the casing of the one that was found within the basement, it is just the case. If we look at the one that is marked as Exhibit 26, it has a copper-colored projectile that is still intact. It also has a primer in it, and that primer is not dented, indicating that this is a complete round and it has not been fired.
So Exhibit 26, not fired. Exhibit 284, a fired casing.
Yes, a fired casing, also referred to sometimes as a spent shell casing.
I'm going to leave these two up here. We have more ammunition we're going to compare in a minute. Deputy, how would you describe Exhibit 276?
Looking at Exhibit 276,
Blurry?
we're facing to the east. This is on the north side of the basement, or the north half of the basement. We see that there's a
table?
wooden
Chairs?
bookshelf, natural wood color to the right. There's a safe that is black with a silver face next to it. We can see that there's a plastic table, and then there are two folding chairs that are folded in the chair position, and there are two additional chairs on the left side of that image. If we look at the concrete type floor, the concrete floor as well as the walls in the basement are painted in a gray type paint. We can see that there is a defect on the floor that is on the photographer's side, or the near side of the chair that is to the right in this image. The defect is a white, in this image appears to be a round or elliptical type defect.
Exhibit 277.
Exhibit 277 is a medium shot of that same defect in the concrete floor.
Exhibit 278.
Exhibit 278 is the same defect. This time we've added evidence marker letter H to it. We can see that when we get closer with the imagery that there is some depth to the defect, and it is not uniform, in its edges are jagged.
And why is this defect interesting to you?
There were other defects on the floor, but this defect was interesting because it was absent of grime. Now, I can't say that it's fresh, but I can tell you it is not aged like the other defects that were on the floor. It doesn't have dirt or debris within that defect like the other defects had. It's not uncommon for a basement floor to have scratches or gouges, but this one, it stood out, and it still had a like a powder, like busted concrete texture within the defect itself.
We found Where he did it.
547, what are we looking at in 547?
In 547, we were looking at the floor
And he
on
said
the south
in his
half of the basement.
listen,
We
he
are on
said
the
in
west
his
side of the basement
interrogation,
facing to the
the
east.
basement is
We
easy
see
to
evidence
clean up.
markers letter F.
It's just
And we see
concrete
evidence
floor.
markers letter G. Now, if we look, you can see
Illuminate
that the
that
basement
whole floor.
doesn't look the same as in the original images that we had taken. This photograph was taken after the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory Field Response Unit came out to assist us. It consisted again of Nick Stalke, John Ertl, and the two photographers that came out to do the luminol. And what you see here is the residue, the white residue that is left behind when luminol is sprayed onto the hard surface. I further say that letter F and letter G are areas that fluoresced or luminesced that we collected swabs from the concrete floor.
Which brings us to exhibit 287. Deputy, could you please look at the labels on exhibit 287 and describe what 287 is?
287 are 3 swabs from the south side of the basement area, G, F, and F. The Sheriff's Office barcode number is 41884, and it also has Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory case number with subdesignations of AB, AB1, AB2, and AB3. Now, in the image I told you, there were 2 areas that were collected. The area F was swabbed twice, so 2 swabs were taken from area F, and they were collected separately.
I would move 287 into evidence. No objection.
It is received.
How would you describe exhibit 292?
I'm not sure I heard you correctly. Was that 292?
Yes.
Exhibit 292 is a photograph that I took of the basement. Again, this is in the south side of the basement. It is in the southwest corner. As we see now, the freezer has been removed and collected as evidence. It is no longer in front of the wire rack rolling storage unit that has the supplies on it. We can see the left side of the photograph. There's the gray door with a silver handle for the upright vertical freezer. There's a shop vac that is on the floor. And then we can see that there's an area that protrudes north of the foundation itself. That would be the area below the front steps that would be commonly referred to as a stoop. And in some instances, in home construction, they get filled in. In other instances, they get capped off and they can be used as additional storage areas.
Exhibit 293.
Exhibit 293 is a photograph of the it's on the south side of the basement. It is the southwest corner. We can see the cinder block wall, and then we can see above the cinder block wall, there are silver pipes. Those silver pipes are conduit that contain electrical wires within it. You can see the junction box that is affixed to the cinder block wall. We can see that there are a couple pieces of wood that are attached to the wall, and the area above the cinder block has a wood construction creating a wall above the cinder block. You can see that there's the gray paper-like material. It's got some red writing on it. That is the paper side of the insulation that was placed inside of that cavity, the area that is between the 2x4 studs, and it's for insulation purposes.
Exhibit 294.
Is just another photograph of that same area.
Did you find something in there?
Again, we can see the red markings for the insulation.
And what is exhibit 295?
What is that?
Exhibit 295 is an area of the cavity that is exposed once the insulation is removed from the studs. And when we look in the lower portion of that image, we can see that steel pipe. And then beyond it, there are some black triangular looking pieces. Those pieces are consistent with a mouthpiece that would be used on a vape type instrument, which is an instrument that a person sometimes uses if they're a smoker to mimic cigarettes.
And was this vape?
Where's your vape in the
out
wall?
in the open like this, or was it behind insulation?
It could not be seen. It was concealed within that cavity, and it was covered with the insulation.
The hell?
Upon learning that, did you guys then remove more insulation in the area?
We removed all the insulation in the basement after seeing that. There was an indicator that somebody was hiding something in the basement. Those were put there purposely. They're not left there by accident.
Exhibit 296.
Exhibit 296, we can see in the bottom left portion, those same vape mouthpieces. However, as I pulled back more of the insulation and exposed the cavity created by the 2x4 walls, you can see the magazine from a firearm that also contains bullets. The magazines are concealed within the wall and hidden with the insulation covering them, so they could not be seen unless the insulation was removed from the wall.
So the magazines were hidden behind the insulation.
Correct. They could not be seen without removing the insulation. And the insulation was put back into place, as it really did not look out of place. But during our extensive search, I decided to pull back insulation and dig a little bit deeper and a little bit further, and this is what I found.
And obviously by magazine, you don't mean Sports Illustrated. What's a magazine for people that are not gun users?
So a magazine is part of the firearm. Not every firearm has them, but on some firearms that are semi-automatic, they have a storage container that's called a magazine. The bullets are pushed into the magazine from the top, and when you see the bullets, that is the top of the magazine. As you push the next round in, they compress a spring that is at the base. And the magazines have different capacities. These magazines hold
Now,
multiple
was he hiding them
rounds of
there
ammunition.
because that's
That
where
magazine
he
is then
wasn't
placed
allowed to
into
have a
the
gun in the
firearm,
house?
and then the spring will feed the
And
firearm
then-
and force additional ammunition
So that's
into the
where he was
chamber of that
hiding it, or
firearm
was
as
he really
cycles
hiding
each
it
time the trigger is
from
pulled.
the police,
What do you observe in Exhibit
or
297?
both?
Exhibit 297 is after I pulled the insulation from the wall, I stepped back and took an overall photograph. This is for reference, so a person who was not there can understand where within the basement those were located.
How would you describe Exhibit 298?
Exhibit 298 is a close-up of the 3 magazines that I located concealed within the basement wall. The magazines are of a polymer or plastic-like material, and there are 3 of them. I collected each of them. One of them listed as the front, which is the one closest in the image. One listed as top, which is the one in the highest portion of this image. And then one listed as bottom, which is the one that's leaning over on the far right side of this image.
Exhibit 299, how would you describe Exhibit 299?
Exhibit 299 is when I completely removed all of the insulation. Again, this photograph is to show the condition in which they were found and in relation to the vape mouthpieces that were located. Again,
That's
just a
what he's
reference.
gonna say. He's gonna say, "I hid the gun
Exhibit
over
300?
there.
Again, this
That's
is
what I
another
was
perspective
doing
along the
there.
better view
Is because I
of
hid the
third
gun
magazine,
there
the one
because
that's
I
listed as
wasn't
bottom.
supposed to
And each
have
one
it
of
at the
these
house.
magazines, you
So
can
I
see
hid
that
it
there
at
are
Chris's
bullets
house.
in each of those
I
magazines.
didn't do this. Yada yada yada."
And 301? Just another perspective view?
Again, it's just another reference photograph so that the viewer can have a understanding as to where they were located within the basement.
And same for 135?
Correct. It's an
Or, sorry, 302.
The 302 is a overview, again, showing in relation to the storage shelf and the
Stop whispering.
magazines.
Share with the class.
Deputy, I'm going to approach you now with Exhibits 288, 289, and 290.
Do you have to put your mask on every time somebody approaches you? Is that what we're doing? Whatever.
And I'm going to have you describe
Your
the labels on Exhibit
function
288 first.
Exhibit 288 is the
Magazines?
magazine that was listed as the front with ammo. It's got evidence ID number 42258 affixed to it.
I wonder what they sounds like normal.
I would move at this time Exhibit 288 into evidence. No objection.
It is received.
I'd ask that you open it up, and I'm actually going to have you count
Could you
the
imagine?
amount of rounds in that magazine.
This is what they sound like normal. You know, now that when I watch things that aren't like live things, I get irritated because I can't watch them on sped up. I don't watch a lot of live things anymore because I can't fast forward through the
Yes, thank you. Will you
non-interesting
hold it up
parts.
for the jury. All right, now if you would count the rounds, sir. Okay.
But you could even go that fast. This wouldn't even be that bad. Movements are a little faster. They're how fast They're, oh yeah, I still got an hour in this video.
Okay, they don't have to be standing up, just count the amount. 20, okay. And that was exhibit 288. If you would return the rounds and magazine to the box.
She's annoying. Would you please try not to tell me what to do?
And I'm going to have to repeat the same procedure with item 290.
Why?
Item 2D is the rifle magazine listed as bottom with ammo.
Item 289.
Another one. Jesus. There's just 3
Yes,
magazines.
looking at
He
the
just
head
had to
stamp
do
on the
that.
ammunition, they're all
That's
the
stupid.
same color, the same caliber, 7.62 by 39, and they all have the same head stamp from the manufacturer that is the logo for Bernal.
And is that the same head stamp that you identified in the Get Well
All
bullet
right,
as
I'll
well as
slow
the casing
down.
found on the basement floor?
I don't recall which one was a Get Well bullet.
Oh, I'm sorry, exhibit 26.
Yes, they're all the same.
Okay, this one just has Get Well written in Sharpie on it. So all of the
Get
ammunition
well before I go
Color
shit balls.
in for this particular.
I don't know. I don't know.
Probative value for the evidence that we're allowed to submit to the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory, and that's when the DNA.
And when we're talking about exhibits and evidence, we're not only talking about
Oh shit.
I'm trying
You're gonna
to
talk
read
to
what
him.
the scene is saying. I'm trying to interpret.
all of the ammunition that is displayed up here is all the same caliber, all the same head stamp.
That is correct.
No more questions. That's what her ASMR voice said.
No further questions.
Cross-examination.
yes, thank you. Detective, excuse me, deputy, approximately how many hours did you spend processing this place?
I would suggest
A fucking
over the
lot.
3-week period, it was roughly 10 to 12 hours a day. Not working every day. We did have a couple days off in there.
So the pictures that were shown to
Wow.
the jury today, were those all taken in the same day or in different days?
They were taken in different days. They're not taken all at the exact same time. No.
Now, as far as you being at that home, is this your first time that you were in the Halderson household?
In reference to this investigation, yes, I'd never previously been at their residence.
So you mentioned multiple times that the way you photographed things that day was how it was when you got there, correct?
Correct.
Nothing.
When I entered under the guise of the search warrant, we photographed the entire interior of the residence, how we found it. And again, I talked earlier about wearing booties and the cross-contamination. You just cannot get past that. But nothing else was moved when the initial photographs are taken. And when we walk through and we're taking our notes, and I talk about that golden hour with Deputy Plenty, we're not moving or touching anything. We were simply looking.
And along those lines, would you agree with me that your role is primarily to take in the scene, not necessarily analyze the scene? Does that make sense?
I would disagree because my role as a crime scene investigator differs from a detective. When I'm at the scene, I'm trying to read what the scene is saying. I'm trying to interpret what the scene is saying. The detective, they get verbals. They talk to their witnesses, their victims, their suspects, and they are able to communicate verbally. I have to interpret what has been left for me. I have to try and essentially analyze, for lack of a better term, what is there and what isn't there.
So along those lines as well, are you the individual that gets to determine what is of evidentiary value and what is not of evidentiary value?
I'm one of the people, yes, I am.
And I believe in this particular location, it would be you and Deputy Plenty.
That is correct. Now, and additionally, we do our investigation and we're making a evaluation as we're doing it, and we're identifying what needs to be done to the scene. Okay, that first evaluation. What additional resources are we going to need?
Ma'am, you
Are
shouldn't
we
let
going to
him,
need help
let
from other
him
agencies?
just keep
be it
talking.
The State Crime Laboratory Field
You
Response,
control
the
your
ATF,
witness.
DCI's State Fire Marshal's Office. All of that is going in and taking place. Once we sequence what is going to happen, we roll out our plan. Now that changes, and things happen that allow us to continue, and then there's roadblocks that we have to stop and changed our direction, our course of attack, if you will, on processing this scene. Once that is all done, again, we talked about that communication with the detectives and having an understanding as to what's taking place outside of the crime scene. I don't know everything that is taking place. I don't know every interview that is being conducted. So what we do then is, once we're done with the processing of all of the evidence that we find forensically, we then bring the detectives into the scene and they do a wall-to-wall search. And during that wall-to-wall search, they're looking for additional documents that they might have an understanding that has relevance to the knowledge of, because I'm not the one out doing the interviews. So this is a team approach, and we need the detectives to give us information. We give the detectives information, and then we have them come in and we release the scene to the detectives so they can do their wall-to-wall search for additional things that we may have not had any knowledge that may or may not have been important.
So in conjunction with you and the crime scene team, along with the detectives, it's fair to say that this house was very thoroughly processed.
Yes, I referred to the search when the walkthrough was conducted with the district attorney's office. I use a term that when we get done with the search, when we're done with the tornado search, we'll find everything. And the district attorney looked at me and wondered what tornado search was. And I told them that we will turn the house upside down, looking for whatever piece of evidence is in here that would have any value to this case. And that's what we did.
And the DA has placed all of the exhibits that they've presented to you in that corner. That's not even half of the exhibits or of the evidence that was collected in this case, correct?
That is correct.
And when we're talking about exhibits and evidence, we're not only talking about anything that could contain blood, we're talking about digital evidence, such as flash drives, anything like that this house had, you would have collected and processed.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, going into the blood evidence that you had talked about in direct examination, you essentially performed two types of tests, correct?
That is correct, yes.
And the first one was just to see if there was a presence of blood. Is that correct?
That is correct. That would be the phenolphthalein test that detects just simply the presence of blood.
And then that second one was that hexagon OBDI or OBTI test.
That is correct. The hexagon OBTI, that differentiates between human blood and non-human blood.
The tests that were performed on this blood initially from you, they cannot tell you when that blood was placed on that location, correct?
No, they cannot.
And I think you might have mentioned this in direct examination, but I'll say it again. It cannot tell you, these tests cannot tell you whose blood that is.
No, that's the screening process that we utilize, again, to get the best probative value for the evidence that we're allowed to submit to the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory. And that's when the DNA evaluation and testing is conducted at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab. That is not something that is done in-house by any sheriff's office in Wisconsin.
And along those lines, those two tests that you performed on the blood, they cannot tell you how it was that the blood was placed there.
No, they cannot.
Same with the physical evidence that you recovered. So for example, we spent some time talking about metal fragments that were located in the basement. Do you recall those?
Yes, I do.
Now you're able to determine that they're metal fragments, correct?
That is correct.
And maybe you're able to determine that they're, I think you refer to them as projectiles.
Consistent with the lead fragment of a projectile, yes.
But a thorough, conclusive saying that this metal fragment is a projectile, that's not something that you would be able to do, correct?
No, that would again go to a subject matter expert at the Wisconsin State Crime Laboratory in the firearms section.
And again, as far as you're concerned, you cannot tell us when those metal fragments were placed there, correct?
No, I cannot.
And generally, you cannot tell us how they were placed there.
No, I cannot do that either, no.
And that goes with any kind of physical evidence that you recovered at the household, correct?
Could you ask the question again?
Sure, yeah. So I specifically talked about the metal fragments, but
Yep.
as far as any kind of physical evidence that you collected, you weren't
This is
able to
their
tell the jury or
attempt at
anyone
doubt.
how it was placed there.
Reasonable
Correct.
doubt.
In respect to the metal fragments or any evidence?
Any evidence.
That is not correct.
So there's some evidence that you are able to say how it was placed there.
Correct.
Could you give me an example?
The bloodstain patterns.
And when we're talking about the bloodstain patterns, it's quite literally the pattern, not how the blood was placed there, just the pattern, correct?
Correct. Well, the pattern will tell us basically how it was applied. So when we look at the face of the safe and we see the stains that are on the face of the safe, they're pretty much round and they're small. And that tells us that those stains impacted on that safe at a 90 or near 90-degree angle. So the face of the safe is a horizontal surface. So the blood is deposited onto the face of the safe at a 90-degree angle.
But again, you do not know when it was placed there.
I cannot say that, no.
I don't have any more questions for you. Thank you.
Any redirect?
One brief question. The jury previously, and counsel, I think, mentioned some of the photos. The video that Scott Coons, the slow walkthrough of the property, was that done before or after photos being taken?
I cannot recall exactly the time. It was on the same day, but I do not recall if that was prior to or after.
Sure. Was it done before any items were moved?
Nothing was moved.
That's it?
May this deputy be excused and released? Or no?
No.
But excuse me. Are there any, well, I know we should get the, I will ask him to, with your assistance, to box up the exhibits that are there before we proceed to the next witness. Thank you, sir.
Don't release any of the witnesses. That would be too easy. Come along now. I swear, they're just playing a game.
I do.
Who are you? I missed your name.
Good afternoon, sir. If you are able to safely and responsibly testify without a mask, that would be our preference for the purposes of witnesses, if you could. Thank you so much. Go right ahead, counsel.
It's the judge's brother. Oh, God. I'm tired. Okay. He's like, come on. I'm waiting. I am here. Let go. That's what people sound like.
Nick Stelke, N-I-C-K, S-T-A-H-L-K-E.
N-I-C-K?
I'm a forensic scientist with the State Crime Laboratory in Madison, Wisconsin.
And what sort of training did you have to go through to become a forensic scientist?
I have to have a minimum of a 4-year degree or a bachelor's degree. My degree is in medical technology and chemistry.
Yeesh.
And where did you get that from?
Sounds
St. Cloud State
complicated.
And then have any further training?
I have conditions that I've
Oh, my God, please, let's not go through it.
Well, could you give us the highlights? What are some of the specific
No.
trainings you have?
Well, I had,
Nope.
So it allows you to see blood that is not able to be seen with the naked eye.
that's correct.
In the course of this investigation, were you asked to luminol
you.
some vehicles?
Yes, I was.
And was one of those vehicles a Volvo belonging to a Halderson?
It
Volvo?
was.
And what, if anything, were the results of that luminol?
It was negative.
And what does that mean?
That means that, first of all, when we did the examination of that vehicle, we always do a visual examination. I did not see any visible blood. We followed that up with then the application of luminol, which again is you see a visible reaction for non-visible blood from the application of luminol, and I did not get a reaction from that.
And I'm showing you what has been marked as exhibits 342, 343, and 344. How would you describe exhibits 342 through 344?
I don't know. How would you describe it?
Exhibits 342, 343, and 344 are photographic images of vehicles that I processed.
I would move 342 through 341 into evidence at this time. No objection.
They are received.
And I'd ask for the Elmo.
Elmo.
And 342. Was this the Volvo that you processed?
It is.
And no signs of blood in that.
Volvo.
And
Volvo?
343.
Volvo.
Was that the Subaru Outback vehicle that you processed belonging to Bart Halderson?
It was.
And what result did you have with luminol with that vehicle?
Again, it was negative.
And then I'm going to show you
What?
344. Is this another vehicle that you at least took a look at?
They use the
And did you perform luminol on this vehicle?
I did not.
And why is that?
The condition of the vehicle, all the items that were located within the vehicle would suggest that none of those items had been removed or had been replaced. All those items seem to be in the condition that it had been for some period of time. So in my estimation, it wasn't necessary to attempt luminol for this particular vehicle.
And 344 is specifically the vehicle that was owned by Kat Melander, the girlfriend in this case.
That was my understanding.
So let me ask you, if I have something that is bloody, but I put it in I put it in some sort of plastic, would luminol detect stains on the flooring underneath?
No, if there's no contact with luminol on the surface that is being tested with luminol, it will not detect or give any kind of reaction to the application of luminol.
So similarly, like putting on gloves, you don't see fingerprints. If you wrap something in a barrier, it would prevent the luminol from picking up on blood.
That's correct.
Well, he used a tarp. Stop listening.
And sir, did you write a report in this case?
I did.
I'm going to show you what has been marked as Exhibit 548.
It's weird.
Could you please describe Exhibit 548?
Yes, Exhibit 548 is a copy of my confidential report of laboratory findings.
And why do you write reports with the results from your investigation?
We always write reports so that everyone understands that we were there in a duty, and those then, when we have conclusions that from our examinations, we need to report those to.
And
the
is
agency.
Exhibit 348 a true and accurate copy of your report?
Exhibit 548?
I'm sorry, 548.
Yes, it is.
All right, I'd move Exhibit 548 into evidence at this time.
It is received.
And just for neatness,
It's like she didn't
Exhibit
even
303,
let
is that a
him
copy of your curriculum vitae?
finish the answer before she's on to the next question. Like, settle down, Turbo.
Exhibit number 303 is, yes.
I would move Exhibit 303 into evidence.
No objection.
It is received.
Yay.
Now, the cars were just a small part of what you looked at in this case. Is that fair?
Yes, it was.
I'm going to show you what has been marked
Yay.
as Exhibit 304 and Exhibit 305.
Yay.
Actually, in this case, you created a PowerPoint.
Do that.
He was asked to do that
And
He didn't just
Exhibit
do
304
it.
is just the USB of your PowerPoint.
willy-nilly. He's a nose breather, y'all.
And Exhibit 305 is a printout of your PowerPoint.
Exhibit 305 is that, yes.
I'd move Exhibit 304 and 305 into evidence at this time.
No objection.
If I breathe heavy, I apologize. Well, one, I'm fat, and two, I smoke. So that would be my excuses.
Let me get it set up before I have you sit there, Judge.
I try not to be a mouth breather. Or a loud breather. I need to go blow my nose. We are back.
Do you want to touch it?
I think we did.
All right.
Oh, there we go.
So Exhibit 305 is a PowerPoint with 23 slides approximately.
Yes,
And in the first slide, that's just the outside of the house that you processed.
that's correct.
And that house is the 4595 Oak Springs Circle address.
It was.
Okay. And what do we see on slide 2?
I like to describe this house as a tri-level, but it actually has 3 levels above ground, 4th level being the basement. So this would be the lowest level. This is the foyer at the front door. This off to the left is the family room. Behind us would be the entrance to the garage, and in the middle there, in the top center of the photograph, is the entrance to the basement, or the lowest level.
Now, did you luminol the entire house?
No, we only luminoled those areas that of concern. In those areas were the basement, the foyer here. There's a bathroom then up on the top right corner of this photograph. We did that one as well, and then the garage. And the family room, if I didn't mention that.
Okay. And slide 3. How would you describe slide 3?
Slide 3 is the lowest level. This would be the basement. The basement was split basically in two, divided by a dividing wall. This would be the north half of the basement.
Thought maybe they didn't show the basement on Zillow because that's
How would
where
you
he
describe slide
killed
3?
him and chopped him up, and they didn't
I'm
want
sorry, I
that
think that's the south-
advertised.
Actually, the south side of the basement, because the front door is facing south. So this would be
Oh
when you go
my
down the
god!
basement stairs to the right, and just to the left, and that is the on the north side of the basement. This is the south side of the basement. This is the
Because
floor
normally
of the
we
south
get
side.
pictures of the whole house.
Slide 5.
Oh my god! There's
Well,
blood.
the slide just before this was a photograph of the floor with white light. This is the photograph then with a long lens opening with no light at all other than the light that is being generated by the application of luminol, and then a small pop of light or
It's
flash
the
so
blood,
that we
it's
can
the
get an
blood.
idea of the relative positions of the items within the scene to the luminol itself. If we didn't do that, all you would see would be the luminescence of the luminol reacting to the presence of whatever it's reacting to.
Now, The blue area that's fluoresced, I believe you said, is that all blood that it's reacting to?
This could be blood that it's reacting to, yes.
Exhibit or slide 6.
It could
What is
be.
slide 6 depicting?
Because
Well,
we
then what the hell
only
is it
applied
if it's
small
not?
areas of the of luminol to the basement floor
Now I'm just
in
confused.
small intervals or in sections. This is a second photograph of application of the luminol closer to the camera itself.
And you said that the luminescence could be blood. Could it be something else?
Well, it does luminol does react with bleach or any other chemical that has some metals in it. Also, some plant materials
Well,
will
what
give
the-
some false positives.
So if somebody had cleaned the floor with bleach,
Jesus Christ.
that might also respond to your luminol.
It can, yes.
What about hydrogen peroxide? Would that cause any luminol?
Well, to cause the reaction of luminol, actually, luminol is part of the chemical reaction of luminol. When you apply luminol, you're applying a basic solution with luminol and with the addition of hydrogen peroxide, which is an oxidizer, causing the luminol then to react to the iron that's in the hemoglobin of the blood to luminesce. So hydrogen peroxide is actually a part of this then. Hydrogen peroxide is also a good cleaning agent or a bleach, which will remove stains and break down cellular material like blood.
I don't understand what you just said then.
Slide 7, what is the jury seeing?
Okay, slide 7 is the opposite direction of the previous slides. The previous slides had the camera in the position just this side of that small chest freezer, looking our direction. In this case, this photograph is looking in the opposite direction.
When you are luminoling this area, an area that we just looked at, and you're getting some fluorescence, is anybody else swabbing that area or testing it for blood in any manner?
Once we identify an area that is reacting, giving us a positive
I
reaction.
know what's
to
in
the
all
application
those
of luminol,
boxes.
We then swab it to get a sample, and then we test it again with phenolphthalein, which is a presumptive test for the presence of blood. And because luminol isn't specific to blood, we need a second test to determine if there is potentially blood present. And so we always follow up any positive luminol areas with a test, presumptive
Like
test.
nothing else was organized, but
And did
this
Greg
stuff,
Leatherberry, in this case, perform those
this
tests?
stuff
I
was
performed
organized.
the,
So whatever it
phenolphthaleins. I think
is.
Greg may have assisted with that, but he collected all of those samples.
And did he perform? Oh, you did the phenolphthalein?
Yes.
Okay. And so going back to slide 5, did you swab and test any of that, slide 5?
Well,
Yes,
there's
we did.
canned
And did it
goods.
test positive for blood?
It did. Presumptive positive for blood.
Or maybe they're just the bottles.
And
Hell, I don't
slide
know.
6, did you swab or test any of those
That's what it
areas?
looks like.
I did.
And did any of those test positive, presumptive for blood?
He did.
Slide 8. Oops, I'm sorry. I went to 9. Slide 8. What is the jury viewing in slide 8?
Slide 8 is a view
Workbench.
across the basement from south to north. The basement stairs is off to the left. The previous views in the previous slides would have been to our right, looking down the south side of the south half of the basement area.
There's
This is
their
looking across
bar.
From them, the south side of the basement.
A
to the
little
north
mini
side of the
bar.
And slide
air
9.
fryer.
What are we viewing in slide 9?
basement. Slide 9 would be then the north side of the basement.
Slide 10.
Slide 10 is the north side basement floor.
And then slide 11. What is the jury seeing in slide 11?
Slide 11 is the north side basement floor after the application of luminol.
And did you, after applying luminol and getting some fluorescent areas, were those areas swapped?
We did swap some areas in the north side, yes.
Did you test them with phenolphthalein to see if they tested positive for blood?
We did. In this particular case, I don't recall if any of these were positive for presumptive test presence of blood.
Sure, so it might have been bleach or some other cleaning agent.
Correct.
What is the jury looking at in slide 12?
This is the basement floor again on the north side, but closer to the stairs that leading down to the basement or leading up to the foyer.
And slide 13.
This is the same area, however, after the application of luminol.
That's a lot of blood, y'all.
And how would you describe these results on slide 13?
These gave a very strong reaction to the presence of luminol. I believe that we also had a couple positive reactions to the presumptive test of phenolphthalein as well. But there were some footwear impressions, apparent footwear impressions in blood in this area. And you can see that in this photo.
Oh shit.
How would you describe slide 14?
Slide 14 then is a view from the north side of the basement toward the stairs leading up to the foyer.
And slide 15?
15?
Yes.
Slide 15 is an image of the family room. There's a fireplace there, and there are also some stairs that lead up to the upper floor, a kitchen in the background there, and the foyer is off to the right.
Slide
16?
16, and then right there, 16.
16. 16 is the fireplace hearth with a floor in front of that. Appeared that they were doing some construction in this, or renovating in this room.
Slide 17, just another view.
Yeah, just another view of the same thing.
And slide 18. How would you describe slide 18 to the jury?
Slide 18 is the same view as the previous view. However, after the application of luminol, this particular view would indicate there was some solution or a wetting of the surface that had occurred here. You can see that there's
Slow down,
a
sir.
little bit of
Get your words out.
movement and drainage, or there's a flow pattern, for instance, for lack of better terminology here, of that luminescing area.
And
So
is,
possible cleanup as well.
and your training and experience with luminol, are you also trained in blood stain pattern or blood splatter analysis?
Yes.
Is there anything you can say about the blood staining of the basement area?
Well, you can see that there's a couple of very bright stains that are luminescing very brightly with blue. Those would be stains that are not necessarily diluted with any kind of a substance or liquid. Those are fairly strong stains. The stains that we could visibly see in this area appear to be more of a drip or a contact transfer.
And I'm going to go back a few slides and ask you about blood
So
pattern.
is that really where he
Is there
cut his
anything, this
toe?
slide in the basement, slide 13, is there anything you can say about the blood pattern in that slide?
The only thing that this is a real complex situation, I'd say, with a lot of different things going on. These are mostly transfers or just the contact of blood onto a surface. There's also some patterns then that would be consistent with the footwear in blood. There's also drip patterns there as well. And there's some spatter stains off to the side or onto vertical surfaces near this.
And I'm going to go back to slide 5. Is there anything you can say about the pattern there?
These patterns are more general in that and diffuse in that it appears that there's been some wiping or cleanup.
I'm going to go back to, I believe we were at 17.
He's thinking, damn, I
Slide
thought
18 we already
I
talked
cleaned
about.
that shit up.
Slide 19. How would you describe
Here we
slide
are.
In slide 19, we have some visible stains. And the ones that are already marked are ones that deputy very visibly seen and marked with these labels, adhesive labels.
And slide 20.
20 is image taken after the application of luminol. You can see there that there's many more stains that are visible now due to the application of luminol. These stains are very similar in characteristic, size, and shape as this.
I mean, that
visible
might be
stains that you can see in
consistent
the
with
already marked.
his toe.
Are you able to say anything about the pattern or splatter of these stains?
These look like stains that were drip utilized in, or that are produced from gravity alone acting upon the bloody source with the blood dripping straight to the floor. There were a couple of stains that you can see some movement toward the bottom right that are somewhat smeared. These could be consistent with swipes or wipes.
Seems consistent with a
Slide
toe.
21. A view before you luminoled.
This is the foyer. The front door is off to the left. The garage entrance is up toward the top of the photograph. And this is from the location at the top of the basement stairs.
Slide 22. How would you describe slide 22?
The entrance to the front of the house, entrance to the left at the end of that rug, and then the entrance to the garage there at the top with the door open.
And finally, slide 23. What do you see in slide 23?
Slide 23 is in
Footprint.
following the application of luminol. We had a positive reaction to the presence of luminol here, just inside the garage door. And this had a pattern to it. It appeared to be a contact transfer with the shape of a possible container that may have had blood on the surface of it.
And just
footprint
like with the
from
vehicles,
here.
again, if items such as plastic tarp or other barriers were used, would that prevent you from finding blood with luminol?
Well, anything that would prevent blood from contacting the surface, which was then ultimately applied or had luminol applied to it, would not indicate or give a positive reaction to the presence of luminol.
And if blood was cleaned up with hydrogen peroxide, would you be able to find any traces of it?
Well, with luminol, because hydrogen peroxide is part of the formula of the luminol itself, it would not give a reaction. It would indicate that cleanup had occurred. It would be, but however, the hypochlorite or bleach does give a positive, negative positive, false positive for luminol.
Are you familiar with lemon at all as a potential cleaning agent?
Well, I've heard of lemons possibly being used as cleaning agents. Lemons have citric acid, and we're all familiar with vinegar, which is acetic acid. So we know that acetic acid is a cleaning agent. It's a mild acid used in removal of mineral stains and things like that, or metal staining and things on that order. So and mineral deposits. So lemons can be used as a cleaning agent.
It's also a nice deodorizer. Smells
Yes,
good.
yes. Vinegar does have a sour odor to it, whereas lemons would not have that.
Vinegar stinks.
And Analyst Stolke, did you test this last stain, slide 23, for blood?
I don't recall. If we collected it, we would have tested it, and since we collected it, pretty sure we would have tested it with phenolphthalein.
Fair enough. And the chemical compound H2O2, is that the chemical formula for hydrogen peroxide?
It is.
I have no further questions.
Cross-examination?
So I'm a bit confused. You said earlier that it could be blood, whatever is illuminating from the luminol, correct?
Correct.
And I believe the other assumption is that it could be bleach, correct?
Correct.
So whenever we see something illuminated on that TV or on the photographs, it could be bleach, yes?
Could be one or the other or both, yes.
And the only way you'd be able to do that is by doing that additional testing that you talked about with the phenolphthalein, correct?
That would give us more confidence that it is blood, yes.
And I believe you said that there were some areas where it couldn't be detected if what was being illuminated was in fact blood. Is that
Excuse me,
correct?
say that again.
Sure, yeah. I believe you had mentioned that there was some spots where it was illuminated and you did test for the presence of blood, but nothing was located or no further testing was done.
When we got a positive reaction for luminol, I would go to the area that had the strongest luminescence or fluorescence and swab that area. We then conducted a phenolphthalein, which is a presumptive test for phenolphthalein or for blood. We had several negative tests, but we also had positive tests for the presence of blood. So there could be both things going on there.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Just briefly. And these areas were swabbed and samples were collected in the course of this luminol,
It was, yes.
and those were later sent to some of your colleagues at the Wisconsin State Crime Lab?
It would have been tested later on, yes.
All right, nothing further.
May this witness be excused?
Yes.
Thank you so much,
Sorry,
sir.
my subpoena then as well?
Is he released from his subpoena?
We'll talk later about that, but not for right now.
Not for right now. Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Sir, you shouldn't even ask. They don't release nobody. All right, that is the end of day 5. This is the end of day 5. So it could be bleach, it could be blood. Who knows? But there was blood on the axe. The saw thingies match. The saw handle matches the saw blades found in the thing. The bullets match the bullet. The bullet matches the bullet he gave his brother. Huh. They didn't show the basement in the advertisement for the house. I'm gonna go with dude killed his parents. So he shot dad first. Okay, we know he killed dad first. And then this all happened downstairs because downstairs is where you can clean it up. And then he chopped him up in the basement and then burned what he could, and what he couldn't burn, he had to throw out into the woods somewhere. Look at how he holds a pencil, though. Or holds his writing instrument. Come on now, Chandler. Who taught you how to write? Psychopaths hold their pencils like that. That's not right. Anyway. Yep, that's his theory. That is... Maybe that is what prosecution said. I don't know. I wasn't listening. I zoned out. Apparently, nobody else could hear the prosecution's opening statements either because I was doing my nails. Sorry. I'm not going to redo it because that was... I'm going to watch these things as they come. I'm not going to, like, redo them and, like, do them again. And, like, it's not authentic to me. So, that's how I feel. So, I'm sorry. The first video sucks. I'm doing my nails. I won't do it again. I try not to even chew on camera because that's annoying. I don't like to hear people chew. So, anywho. All right, day 5. It's over with. It's done. It's over with. Gosh dang it, I keep burping. I'm done. I am off to the night-night. We will do this again tomorrow. And there shall be more. I should only have about 5 more days left, perhaps. This was the end of day 5. And I think there's only 10 days. So we should only have 5 days left. If I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm always wrong. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right. Later. Peace out. See you on the next one. Like, subscribe, comment. But be nice in the comments. Jeez, I'm trying, y'all. But yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Those things. All right, bye.